All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Woman to Woman TV show. And tonight, our discussion is going to be on the politics of life. And I don't know what that means to you, but to me, it means the things that are happening in my life, as in your life, that are controlled, manipulated, or otherwise deviated by the government. And how do you think those politics are played in your life? So I see politics as the division of the economic pie. Whatever the money is that the state gets, for example, is divided amongst its townships, its communities, its state, its cities, etc. And so I guess the larger the environment, the more money the state donates. Or maybe it's the other way around. The smaller the environment, the more control the government has. I don't know. What say you, tax doctor?
Well,
And I'd like to welcome you to the show and welcome Glenda to the show as well.
Hey, Glenda.
We can't hear you, Glenda. So go ahead, tax doctor.
When you think about the politics of life and the fact that the federal government is a key component of sending revenues back to cities and municipalities, the reason it's not enough because the federal government don't tax the rich the way they should and make the rich pay their fair share of taxes.
Now, well, let's stop there.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that is? Why would we have a system in place where there's some that have so much that they can do whatever they choose to do, and others that can barely feed themselves? Why is that the capitalistic society? Why is it built up that way?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that Adam Smith, who is the father of capitalism, he's the father of laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means government hands off. Also, he believed in a free market system. Let the markets fix everything.
What's his name?
Adam Smith.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, he's the father of capitalism. He's the father of the progressive tax system. The problem with the progressive tax system is a lot of rich folks don't think they should pay their fair share. And racism kicks into this equation as well. Matter of fact, I got a chance to get on the Tom Hartman show on 8:20 a.m., which is the progressive station.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that the white community do not want to share their tax dollars with us. But it's okay for us to share our tax dollars with them. Same thing with the unions.
Okay.
It's okay for us to share our union dollars with white union workers. But a lot of them don't want their dollars to help us.
Uh-huh.
And so since you have that form of racism in this country, the biggest turmoil right now with the GOP in Congress is the debt ceiling, which is at 30.1 $31.4 trillion.
$31.4 trillion.
And that's money they have already spent. So the Republicans want to attack. Now they want to debt cut. They want to cut the debt. But how are you gonna cut the debt when you done already spent this money? Okay. So racism plays a factor. And then you also got to ask yourself the question, why is it that the Democrats let gerrymandering factor into the equation where we lost 5 seats in Florida, 3 or 4 seats in New York and California? Gerrymandering did that. That gave the Republicans a 4-seat cushion. And you don't hear the Democrats speaking out bodaciously about gerrymandering.
Well, I keep saying I believe the political system is just one big system.
Yes.
That has this facade of being a split system. And the goal is the same for both parties. To keep classism in place so that you always have the underclass and the rich. That's what it seems to me that they have done. And I'd like to take a look at that gentleman that you told us about, political theory, Adam Smith. 6 minutes.
Adam Smith is our guide to perhaps the most pressing dilemma of our time: how to make a capitalist economy more humane and more meaningful. He was born in Scotland, in Kirkcaldy, a small manufacturing town near Edinburgh, in 1723. He was a hard-working student and very close to his mother. He then became an academic philosopher, wrote a major book about the importance of sympathy, and lectured on logic and aesthetics. He was also one of the greatest thinkers in the history of economics, in part because his concerns went far beyond the economic. He wanted to understand the money system because his underlying ambition was to make nations and people happier. Smith remains an invaluable guide to 4 ideas. When one considers the modern world of work, 2 facts stand out. Modern economies produce unprecedented amounts of wealth, and many ordinary people find work rather boring and, a key complaint, meaningless. The 2 phenomena are in fact intimately related, as Adam Smith was the first to understand through his theory of specialization. He observed that in modern businesses, tasks formerly done by one person in a single day could far more profitably be split into many tasks carried out by multiple people over whole careers. Smith hailed this as a momentous development. He predicted that national economies would become hugely richer the more specialized their workforces became. One sign our world is now so rich, Smith could tell us, is that every time we meet a stranger at a party, we're unlikely to understand what they do. The mania for incomprehensible job titles like logistics supply manager, packaging coordinator, or communications and learning officer prove the economic logic of Smith's insight. But there is one special problem with specialization: meaning. When businesses are small and their processes contained, a sense of helping others is readily available. But when everything is industrialized, one ends up as a tiny cog in a gigantic machine whose overall logic is liable to be absent from the minds of people lower down in the organization. A company with 150,000 employees distributed across 4 continents, making things that take 5 years from conception to delivery, will struggle to maintain any sense of purpose or cohesion. So Smith discerned that bosses of the specialized corporations of modernity have an extra responsibility to their workers, to remind them of their purpose, role, and ultimate dignity of their labor. Smith's age saw the development of what we'd now call consumer capitalism. Manufacturers began turning out luxury goods for a broadening middle class. Some commentators were appalled. The philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau wished to ban luxury from his native Geneva. He was a particular fan of ancient Sparta and argued that his city should copy its austere martial lifestyle. Disagreeing violently, Smith pointed out to the Swiss philosopher that luxury consumerism in fact had a very serious role to play in a good society. It generated the surplus wealth that allowed societies to look after their weakest members. Consumer societies, despite their frivolity, didn't let young children and the old starve, for they could afford hospitals and poor relief. So Smith defended consumer capitalism on the basis that it did more good for the poor than societies devoted to high ideals. That said, Smith held out some fascinating hopes for the future of capitalism. He didn't want it to stay stuck at the frivolous level forever. He observed that humans have many higher needs that currently lie outside of capitalist enterprise. Among them, our need for emotional education, for self-understanding, for beautiful cities, and for rewarding social lives. The hope for the future is that we'll learn to generate sizable profits from helping people in truly important, ambitious ways. Properly developed, capitalism shouldn't just service our basic material needs while exciting us to buy frivolous things. It should make money from goods and services that deliver true fulfillment.
What do you think about capitalism? Is that where we've been and where we're going still towards?
Well, capitalism, I would say to anybody, capitalism by far is the best economic system to have. But there's got to be participatory capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to have checks and balance on capitalism, because as you see what we're going through now,
Mm-hmm.
capitalism is running amok.
What is capitalism? The civilization of mankind can be traced to the establishment of property rights. With property rights, individuals could own land, capital, and goods, and then trade or sell them to others. This economic activity is referred to as the market. This doesn't mean it necessarily takes place in a physical market. It simply means that goods and services are voluntarily traded. For most of human history, property rights have been limited to those in power. For example, a king or lord had ultimate control over those who lived under their protection. If the king desired beets, farmers were to farm beets. If the lord needed horseshoes, blacksmiths forged horseshoes. Ordinary people had the ability to trade among themselves, but those in power could direct their production if they so desired, or punish those who resisted. The emergence of capitalism changed this. Capitalism is mass production of goods to satisfy the needs of the greatest number of people. Capitalism was revolutionary by recognizing property rights for all, regardless of background and social standing. Under capitalism, even the most vulnerable in society had an absolute claim to their own labor and property. It did not guarantee equality of property, but capitalism eliminated any right by anyone else to infringe upon it. In doing so, capitalism empowered consumers, rather than those in power, to influence what was produced in the economy. This happens via the profit mechanism. If enough people demand a good, and it can be sold for more than it costs to produce, that means the production of that good is profitable. Some of the richest people in the world today have made their money not by appealing to the rich, but by appealing to the masses. Walmart's business model, for example, is geared towards selling goods cheaply to as many people as possible. Critics of capitalism try to condemn it as greed. This is false. Greed and envy are human vices, and they exist in any economic system. What capitalism does is incentivize the production of goods and services that people desire on the market, rather than leaving those decisions to powerful individuals or governments. Throughout human history, we have seen property rights and markets lift billions of people out of poverty. Everywhere in the world, property and economic freedom are correlated with improved quality of life, health, and life expectancy. Capitalism is a peaceful system of collaboration between producers and consumers, and functions by the wants and needs of the greatest number of people. The government plays no role in a truly capitalist system. When the government interferes and forces regulations on producers and consumers, it ceases to be a capitalist system. Capitalism is freedom of consumer choice.
You got what? Less than a fraction of 1% owning damn near all of the money?
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of capitalism we don't need.
We don't need that kind of capitalism.
And under this type of capitalism, you have to have somebody at the bottom.
Absolutely. There's a winner and a loser, the way they got it set up now.
Yes, and
that's how
and
you keep your denigrated market, the people that are at the bottom. That's how you keep it
yes,
poor.
absolutely.
Mm.
And that's why we got folks, and even with our Democrats, and a lot of us vote Democrat, but you also got to understand we have rich Democrats who also benefit from Republican policies.
They set it
Okay?
up that way, I'm sure.
Well, because they're wealthy.
This whole
And they don't
system
want
is
to pay
set up.
they don't want to pay their fair share of taxes, just like the Republicans who the average Republican in the House and Senate are wealthy. They're wealthy people.
They don't even know what it feels like to be a person striving to make ends meet every day.
No, they
no
don't.
clue
Not in
about
this
what
day and
that's
age.
all about.
Same thing with Pritzker. Pritzker don't give a damn
He doesn't
about
know.
black
He doesn't
people.
understand. Doesn't live that life.
No, he don't.
Let me welcome Naima to the show and Glenda, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're talking about the politics of life, and wow, we each have our own perspective, but it seems as though we're in a recession. And how do you have some people that just, they wake up in the morning, they don't have any worries about some of the everyday burdens that we have. And some people living outside in the cold, and those that can get into a shelter, they have to get up and leave in the morning and go back in the cold. It just seems like the system is not set up for the majority. And so what can we do about that? And is there any interest in doing something about that? What say anybody?
Well, part of the dilemma that we got ourselves into in this country, and now we're global society. We're all intermingled now. And what's happening in Ukraine is
what's
having an effect.
What's to stop it from happening over here to you and I? What's to stop what's happening in Ukraine from happening over here?
Well, nothing, because we already had our insurrectionists on January the 6th.
Come on now, come on.
So unlike Russia invading Ukraine, we got our insurrectionists invading the capital of Washington, D.C. And they did kill people. Okay.
Yeah.
And so because they did that, they telling us they don't care about the democracy. They want a dictator.
Right.
Okay, because that, like Obi always told me, he said, Travis, that's what they came from. They came from Europe. A lot of them like being under a dictator.
They like it.
Oh yeah, they love having somebody tell them what to do.
I don't understand you. So they prefer. That's like being in prison. Somebody telling you when to get up, when to go to bed, what to eat, what to wear. What you can do, what you can't do. I mean, what kind of a life is that for a productive adult?
But people like us, it ain't something we want. Because we didn't, well, sometimes it's hard to say what we came from.
Yeah.
Hey, stranger.
Hey, Naima, how you doing?
How are you?
How you doing, girlie?
Excellent. How are you?
Oh, we fine over here. We trying to keep up with what our new world order is.
Yep.
We trying to figure that one out because we don't know. They tell us one thing and then they do something else. So we don't know. We trying to figure it out.
Well, now, why don't we, instead of trying to figure it out, why don't we choose to create it?
See that?
Why are we believing that we have any less power than those who are
Anybody
claiming
else,
to have
right?
power?
Oh, come on now. See?
And
If we don't
Naima
like
is
this
correct.
system, if we don't like this system, all we have to do is choose to create one that works for everybody.
See that?
And
See how that
we
girl
have the
just
power
talk
in our hands. We can
positive
do
we
this
can
at
do it.
any point in time. Now, what would happen if rather than the current monetary system deciding who can get things and who can get housing, what if everybody who had everything just chose to share what they had?
Yes.
Just share.
Yes.
It wouldn't
yes.
matter because we do it all the time. What
Yeah.
if we increased how we did it? I mean, okay, you see a homeless person, you give them $1.
Right.
Well, what if instead of us giving them not enough for them to really change their condition, what if we took all the excess that we had that we don't use, food, clothing, everything else, furniture, buildings, everything that we have access to, and we just chose to share it with those who needed it? Then they would have it.
That's
and
right.
we can do that. I mean, even though those who might have more wealth are choosing not to share theirs, is nothing stopping the people who have whatever they have from,
That's right.
from sharing what they have.
That's so true, Naima. That is so true. And so we could set up our own little distribution points and assist in whatever.
Absolutely.
Just like I was saying the other day, yesterday, I was telling folks, you know, we need to form a inner circle and support that inner circle. The folks in that inner circle that are offering whatever it is they're offering, when we need that, that's where we need to go.
Yep. Well,
we
you know what?
Go there in that service. That's what.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the gentleman that I can't think his name right now that talked about the money, keeping the money in the community. What was his name? He died recently. You know what I'm talking about, Naima,
Webb Evans.
Webb Evans.
Yes.
Webb Evans. He talked about keeping that dollar in our community. And
yes.
we need to do that. We need to teach ourselves how to circulate that dollar. Stop taking it out of our community.
And you know, it's very simple.
Yeah. And not only that, the biggest investment that we make is buying property, buying a house.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have to subscribe to the policies of the capitalists, because if we came together and formulate our own investment group, and we tell to everybody,
you just said create what you want.
Absolutely.
Interest rates could be 2 to 3%.
Yeah.
And we want you to pay off that property in 15 years.
Okay.
Okay. And then if we help each other pay off that property within 15 years, look how much money we will have left in the kitty, because you're not a slave to a mortgage.
Come on now. Yeah.
And even greater than that, if we organize the contractors that build the house and pay them as they build it, then once you move into the house, you've already paid for it and would cost them nothing.
Wow.
Yes.
You're
debt free.
People used to do this, just get together and build their own houses.
Yes,
so
that's true.
We don't have to have a 30-year mortgage, a 15-year mortgage. We can actually have the contractors paid as they build the house, and after it's finished, it's paid off, and the people who live in the house owe nothing.
Whoa,
that would be awesome.
Love that.
That is doable. That is
would
doable.
help so many people. Like,
yes.
I remember Morgan and them talking about years ago buying a brick in these. He said all these abandoned buildings in our communities. Why don't if you got 10 abandoned houses in this community, then why doesn't that community get together and just buy those houses?
Because they would rather somebody else.
Houses.
Well, it's a state of mind. Once you change the state of mind where people realize they have the power to do it, then they'll do it. As long as we keep thinking somebody else is more powerful than we are, then we'll keep waiting for somebody else to do it. But we always had the power to do this. We just keep thinking other people have more power and control and
or
intelligence.
maybe we don't know how to do it, but we need to show, we need to put workshops together and show each other how to do it.
Right. Create
but
a
that's
system.
where our Black contractors come in at.
Right.
A lot of them are willing. They need somebody to organize it. And that's pretty much with everything. Now, right now, I'm developing a system, and the only thing left is to figure out how everybody using their cell phone can create a record of the exchange between people. And as soon as I figure out that technical part of it, we're ready to launch just what we've talked about, having an inner circle of people where you exchange things. No one pays money, but everybody gets what they need.
You're talking about the barter.
That's a
it's
good.
Called
that's the barter
service.
System.
It's called service.
System.
What's it called?
The barter
sharing
system.
Earth's resources, voluntarily implementing creative exchange.
Yeah.
So rather than you trading directly with somebody, what you're trading is service points. So you give somebody something, they give you service points. You can use that to purchase something else from somebody else. They give you service points, or they can purchase something from you. So everybody's doing everything, and there is no money, but everybody has the ability to participate, because all you need is your willingness to either provide a service for someone, or if someone provides a service for you, then you pay them in service points. And everyone has the ability to pay service points, because all it is what you're paying them for what they've done for you. And it comes from you. So it's nothing anyone has to create from a bank. It's everybody's own personal self.
Now that
so
sounds like
everybody
a winner.
has everything they need to trade for whatever they want. And if you're and have it broken down where and just for the sake of mathematics, every minute is equal to $1. So an hour's worth of service is comparable to $60.
Okay.
The same thing. So if you're trading an item, then you determine, well, what is its value in dollars? You trade that in service points. So if something's worth, say, $20, then a person would give you, if they want to trade their skills for that, they would work for 20 minutes.
Okay.
And that would for whatever service they do, whether it's cutting hair, cutting grass, or whatever. Or if there's nothing that they have, then you give them that, they give you the service points, and then they trade that with someone else for something they need. So it's similar to what's working now, how we're doing with our debit and credit cards. Only thing is we just cut out the middleman, which is the physical money.
Right.
And just work directly with, you need this, I give you that, and then I have on record that you have paid me, so to speak, and I use that to get something from someone else.
Okay.
So we can do all of this. We can cut out the banks, cut out everybody else who is saying, well, you can't do this unless I give you money. We cut all that out and just work directly with service to each other.
Now, that's a wonderful idea.
that is the currency that we use. So,
but that is an old barter system, how we used to operate. So it's nothing new. Right. It's just redoing what you